Hello and welcome to another segment of Simply Fit. I'm your host, Sandy White, your number one health and wellness cheerleader. And today we're going to be speaking with Faust Ruggiero. I know I just said that incorrect, and he's going to correct me once he comes on. I'm going to give you guys a little bit about Faust, but I want to thank WYTV7.org first because they have been allowing Simply Fit to be on their platform, and this is the third season. And guys, we're on a mission to save 1 million lives by encouraging individuals to live a simply fit life through health and nutrition so that they're able to overcome suicide and depression. And with your help and with their platform, we're able to do all of the wonderful things that we have planned for this year and the years to come. And guys, I want to remind you, go to the WYTV7.org website and check out all of the wonderful things that we're doing in the community and all of the other broadcasters that are on this platform. And then just share, like, subscribe, and then hit the donate button so we can continue to bring you guys wonderful segments like these. So let me tell you a little bit about our wonderful guest today, Faust. He is an award-winning author, the president of the Community Psychological Center in Bangor, Pennsylvania. In his capacity, he's developed the Process Way of Life counseling program, and he's developed it into a formal text presented in his current book, the Fix Yourself Handbook. Now, he's one of the most sought after self help authors and clinical therapists. In his book that I just mentioned, the Fix Yourself Handbook, it is setting the standards for the new no nonsense movement in self help, which centers around methods that are practical, actionable, and offer exact, to the point advice for today's complicated world conditions. And you guys know what we're dealing with right now. So if you're ready to unleash the power that has been inside of you all of your life, if you stay to the end of the segment, Faust will provide you with all of the details on how you can make this possible. So we're so grateful and we're just thankful that Faust had a little bit of time to come and talk to us. So welcome to the show, Faust. How are you?
Andy, I am wonderful today. Thanks so much for inviting me.
Oh, you are a busy person, and I was just pleased to get on your schedule because, with COVID and folks losing their jobs and all of this stuff going on, your handbook is the perfect thing to share with the audience. So, if you can like jump into how and why you even created, like going a little bit more into why you created the Fix Yourself Handbook, that would be great to kind of like jumpstart this.
Absolutely. Yeah, I've been counseling for a long time. It's 4 decades and a little over 30 years in private practice. And when you do that long enough, you start to see what works and what doesn't work so well. And so I started to realize that people were just getting everything that they were looking for in their lives, or they were trying at least to get it from outside of themselves, from what's trending, from what is popular, from what they feel pressured into doing. And they just simply weren't going inside and getting all the good old God-given gifts that we have. They were abandoning them. They were doing everything from the outside. So I just wanted to go in, identify all those gifts, all those processes, and put them into a program that could help people start them from the point where they're confused, conflicted people to the point where it's a journey where we get to the point where we feel the gratitude and the passion and the faith, and we can get to that point where we can trust our faith and really begin to evolve as people. And I do that with the idea that we want to balance our physical, intellectual, emotional, and spiritual attributes. Once we get those in balance, it really gets us to a point where we're healthy and we feel good about ourselves.
And I agree with that. So let me jump into this. So how is your Fix Your Handbook different than other self-help books? Because, you know, as you said, people are looking outside, inside, they're just trying to get answers so they can, get themselves back on the straight and narrow. So what's different about your book?
As a psychologist, Andy, I started wrestling with that question and how are we going to present this in a way that was different because when I did the research and I went into all these self-help books, they all seemed to be spinning the same yarn, and they were saying the same language and the same acronyms and whatever was popular at the time, and I wanted to finally get to the point where it's practical, where it's not all this new creation of things that make the author look good. What I wanted to do was to put a program together that, first of all, was accessible for everyone. When you write books and you get with publishers, they say, well, let's write a self-help book for women, because they're the ones that read it, 18 to 45 or 50. And I said, well, that's great. We write it for women, and they go back into the world and no one else has the information and they're challenged again. So I want to write it for everyone. I also didn't want to write long chapters that people get lost in. I wanted to put it in a format where it was 3 or 4 or 5 pages. Here's the problem. Those 4 or 5 pages are the ones that tell you, here's all the information you need. Then I wanted to do something different and put the exact steps that you need to take to deal with that problem. I have not seen that anywhere. And I wanted to make the book have a whole lot of different points of interest. So there are 36 chapters, all addressing a different problem, like faith or humility or gratitude or boundary setting, people pleasing, all those kinds of things that people get lost in. I wanted to include a chapter on all of those and then say, this is exactly what you need to do. And if you do these and stay with it, your life gets better.
Now you can, because I'm glad you said what you just said. Now you can tell me no, but I'm going to ask you anyway. So there are 36 chapters in the book. They're short, they're sweet, and they're to the point. Without giving a lot of the juicy juice away, is it possible if I, go through only 4 that I thought were like relevant for today and the segment today, 1 tip from each of these chapters? Is that okay?
Absolutely. Again, that's a different way I deal with things. A lot of authors don't want to do that because I'm giving up too much information. They may not buy the book. I've always been in the business to help people get where they need to go. So even my website explains all there's a chapter outline on every one of them. There's excerpts from the book. If people look at it and they say, gee, this works, I think I can make this work, and they're getting a little information, that's fine. So fire away. Let's go in depth.
All right, so in chapter 21, learn how to reduce your walls and trust yourself and others. So 1 tip, because like right now, unfortunately, we're dealing with COVID, and then folks are just, hating everything. The way you look, the horse you rode in on, the dog smell is crazy. So one tip to kind of help people, can we reset people?
We put the walls up because we're afraid of all those things. We're afraid. We've been burned already. We've been hurt. The world is coming. It's done whatever it does to us. People that we should have trusted really, they really weren't there for us. So what I always say, again, you're going back inside and be strong inside. Get the facts. Take your time. Slow down. Stop listening to the world. If you're putting the walls up, what it really tells you is you don't have enough information and you don't have enough good, secure stuff to trust all that. It's not about trusting the rest of the world, because the world is going to be the world. And what we're experiencing may be the way it keeps on going. The person you have to trust is yourself. And when you get strong on the inside, you trust yourself enough to say, no one can hurt me. I'm not going to be that person that, my skin is thin and those things are going to come in and get me. I trust myself. I'm strong enough to deal with anything. And when you can put that type of a feeling together with your faith, where scripture tells us everything we need, it's fine. Trust you. Build a strong person that you trust inside, and the rest of the world doesn't come in and do those things to you.
Amen. Okay, guys, so that's 1 tip from Faust, trust yourself. We're going to take a quick commercial break from Simply Fit, and then we'll be back, and we're going to get maybe 2 more juicy tips. All right, guys, we'll be right back. Hey guys, if you're just joining us, I'm Sandy White, the host of Simply Fit, your number one health and wellness cheerleader. And we've been talking the first half with Faust Ruggiero. And again, he needs to correct me because I know I said that wrong. But we're going to get some more juicy tips from him. Faust, so the second one that I wanted to get a juicy tip on was chapter number 25. Become better at keeping your life simple. So let's talk a juicy tip on that one.
You know, Sandy, it's in my mind, it's a real good chapter for what we're dealing with today. We have learned how to go real fast, and we feel that as much as we can take into our lives defines us somehow as getting better, feeling better. We have a million choices, and we go very fast, and we have small amounts of information to deal with those. And I tell people, just slow down. Cut all these choices down. You don't need all this stuff. You don't need to fit into all these nooks and crannies in life. Get yourself ordered, decide what's important. Take the all what you think are needs. Most of them are desires. Most things are quick fixes to make us feel better. Take those out. Make a list if you have to. Have your most important things. What's important to you? You know, your safety, your health, your faith, your family. Get those things in order. That's the top of your list, and stop bringing things that are just not important in your life into a need position where you think you have to acquire them. Like the new iPhone is out that costs $2,000. Oh my God, I have to have that. No, you don't. You don't need that. What your phone needs to allow you to connect to other people. You want to take some pictures, you want to do whatever. All these other bells and whistles, they're fine. They're wonderful to have if you can do that and not affect your life. They are not needs, they're desires. They're the tinsel on the tree. You don't need them. Slow down and just get back to your basic needs. Branch out from there. Make sure those are all taken care of.
Okay, so trust yourself, get your basic needs, and I think that's why people have the fear of FOMO, being left out. And then that kind of throws us into chapter 26, learn how to set and achieve your goals, which you kind of touched on a little bit, but I think people just are not doing that because they just don't know what they need and they're not putting themselves first. But I may be wrong because you are the expert. So what's the juicy tip on that one?
You know, I always tell people you have the power to be whatever you want to be, but you need a plan. And, you know, we can look at all the issues in the world, all the things that are plaguing the nation right now. And we wonder why they don't get better. They don't get better because we don't have a solid plan to move forward. That's what it is. Everyone, and it's not that the things we're talking about aren't necessary. We should have those. We should work together and unite and have all those things, but we have no plan to do that. So in people's lives, I say have a plan, which means have a goal. Know what your goal is. That's the first thing. Then you're going to have a plan, which usually consists of some minor goals that help you achieve that goal and your action steps to get there. And I put people in positions where I actually have them construct a goal grid. And here's your primary goal, your long-term goal, if you will. Here are the short-term goals that help you get there. Here are the action steps with time frames. They have to be done when they need to be done. And if people do all these things, like we lay the grid out, they get to their goals. I don't care whether it's setting up a business or moving some social plan in play, whatever it may be. You can do everything if you have a plan. You have your dreams, but they've got to become practical and have actionable steps that one at a time get you to where you want to go. If you can do that, I don't care if it's an exercise plan, I don't care if it's your family, whatever it is, you can do anything you want, but have a plan, know what it is, and stay committed to it every day.
And I like that. Stay committed. Right now, a lot of folks are, they're acting like squirrels. And again, this is why they're not getting, when I say squirrels, they're going, squirrel runs in front of your car and it's like, do I want to go back or whatever? And you're literally doing that with your own life. And then you're trying to figure out why you're not meeting your goals because you stop, you start, But that brings me to chapter 30. And I think this is so monumental. It's understanding gratitude. Understand how gratitude can connect your entire world. And before you answer that, let me know if I'm on the right track with gratitude. Is it possible that people aren't able to find what they're grateful for, because it's so easy for them to gravitate to the negativity.
You're on the right track. You know what? I talk about two types of gratitude in the book, and without going into an elaborate explanation, it's either gratitude for things that we get, that all that external stuff. That's not really gratitude. That's thankfulness, if you will. Gratitude that comes from the inside always exists. We are grateful for every second the Lord gives us, everything. And if it comes from the inside and we're grateful about everything, then it comes out and wraps itself around your entire world. Then your whole world becomes a grateful place to live in. If you can't get to that point, then you're going to be stuck hoping things happen, looking for those quick fixes, hoping someone does something for you or you get something and then you're thankful. And then if that doesn't happen, you're miserable or you just feel blah, my life doesn't have a lot in it. When you are thankful for everything, the smallest little things, and sometimes grateful for the challenges the Lord gives you. Sometimes those challenges aren't mysteries, they're gifts. But when you're grateful on the inside, then you can connect with that and see that all these little things are gifts and they move you into a place that connects you with other people, your own spiritual nature and God. And when you get there, everything becomes clear.
Love that. So, can you explain what's the first step in beginning to work with the process way of life? Because you talk about that a lot.
Yeah, you know what? The first step in anything you do, my program, anything you do, is to disconnect your world from what's not working well. I call it taking life off autopilot. We plug ourselves into what's trending and what's out there and what we, as you say, I don't want to feel like I'm out of sync with everyone. That's what you need to do. That's the first step, is to get out of sync, because that's what's taking you down. You're following blindly, and that's a real concern of mine in our nation. We are now following people blindly. We hear a news report, we hear something, like you said, everyone's at each other because we're going so fast, and we hear something. Disconnect from all of that so you can establish where you are. Then you can say, all right, this doesn't work and that doesn't work, but these things do work. And then we begin at a place that's real, and we start moving you forward. We start getting honest, and we start getting our emotions out of the picture and our intellect into the game, and we start moving forward so we can make a plan. But we gotta stop following who we're following first.
So, with what you just said, is it possible that it's self-hatred is why folks are doing the foolishness that they're doing? And I may be off on that. And then how would that, like, what's going on? People hear stuff, like you just mentioned, hear something on the news, and then they're blindly following someone without checking the facts. How does that play into having a process journey?
It's not hatred. You know what it is? It's being unable to define yourself. That's why I preach so much coming from the inside. We're trying to define ourselves in terms of how we fit in to whatever's going on. And the truth of the matter is that's dynamic. It's always changing. So then we have to really keep up with it and run real fast. And then we always feel like we're not quite caught up. So we don't feel worthy then. We don't feel like we're worthy of inclusion. So we got to go hard. We got to keep up with the Joneses, if you will. And what that does is make us feel unworthy. So then we don't like ourselves, and then we don't like people around us, and our world doesn't feel good to us. We are never ever going to define ourselves and have our own identity by trying to take on someone else's, and try to be like them. I always tell people, don't look for it, don't try to find it, create it, make your own person, and then be happy with what you're creating.
I like that. Now, I don't know if you answered the process journey, but what is that?
The process journey is being able to identify all these processes inside. That's what all the chapters about. Every chapter has a different process involved, a different thing something we want to change. Then the process is applied to all those chapters. And the processes are things like honesty and faith and humility, gratitude, goal setting, people pleasing and learning how to not to do that, setting and defending boundaries, communicating, all those kinds of things. Once we become efficient in all these processes, it leads us through the journey into a place where we like our world. Once we get to the point that we like the world we created, we start to feel what love is all about, because now we're not defending, we're not negative, the energy gets to be positive. Then we're on that journey to love ourselves, which again, no one ever explains. You get to love yourself by liking the person you create. And when you created that person, then you start to say, I love what I'm doing. Now I love myself. Now I can love other people.
And I love that. And that would go into understanding the roles of humility, gratitude, and then faith that you have within the program. Yes.
Absolutely. When you get to that point, you start to see what wisdom is, because wisdom really is about learning and humility together. You never stop learning. You never think you're the expert. You always keep on learning. And when you get to that point, then you realize it's not all about me anymore and all my little worries, and you start to become in service of other people. When you get to that point that your needs are not as important as helping someone else with their issues, that's a wonderful place to be, because now you're in a giving framework. And that's what I think why we're here. We're here to help each other. We're here to help other people, just like the Lord did. You want to find people to help and go help them. When you can do that, and all those little things don't mean anything, and connecting with what's trending doesn't mean anything, now you're arriving at a very special place in your life.
So how does or how can one learn to love themselves using the process way of life? How can they go through that?
You're talking about a life program that you want to be consistent with. You take it one step at a time. Start getting honest with yourself. Start fixing one thing after another. Go in there and become proficient at using the gifts you already have. As I said, then you're going to get to a point where you really like what you're creating, and then your focus shifts from what's outside to your own personal growth. And as you do that, you start focusing on what's changing and what's growing and what's getting better. Now you start to say, you know what? I'm loving this person that I'm creating. I like this. I get up every morning to a person, which is me, that I like, and I start to love that. When I'm doing that, I start to realize that love has nothing to do with the hallmark stuff and the heart and getting someone to complete me. Love is part of the spiritual part of ourselves. It becomes unconditional, and it's a giving process. When you get to that point, you absolutely know what love is for yourself and those people in your world.
Now, I want to stick on that just one second before you tell everybody, what you're doing and how they can get in touch with you. When you start that process of loving yourself, I just lost my train of thought. But so when you start that process of loving yourself, that doesn't necessarily mean that something traumatic happened in your life. Is it possible? It's just the fact that I don't like the direction that I'm going in. I don't like the energy that I'm putting out to other people. I don't like the responses that people are giving back to me. And so is that borderline where you're like, okay, I know I need to make an adjustment, but is that a borderline where it's like, okay, well, let me not necessarily be like the Joneses, but they're getting a result that I like, so let me make some adjustments to implement or emulate that?
You're hitting it on the head. It's a journey. It's not going to be where some epiphany comes in. You say, I got it. Now I love myself. That won't happen. It's a journey. Life is not a journey. There are no destinations. We build those in there. We think we're going to get to a point where somehow we realize it. It's work every day, and subtly, it just, in a very subtle way, it gets us to where we want to go. Somewhere down the road, we're going to realize I'm not thinking negative anymore. The way I talk to myself, because that's huge, is now positive. My internal thoughts are no longer negative and angry, and I don't like this person and that person's hurting me. And I'm starting to realize I'm in control of that. I'm talking positive to myself. My energy is becoming positive. And the key to that is to stop thinking that my energy has to be a result of what goes on in the world. I am controlling my own energy. They don't control me. I control me. So I can watch the news and say, well, I don't like that thing going on. And maybe I don't, but that doesn't mean it has to control the way I think. So I'm in control of the way I think, and the way I think will mold the way I feel. So that's what I want people to realize. It's a journey. Stay on the journey. Love the journey. Be positive every day if you can, and stop responding to the press and all that negative stuff. It may be real out there, but me, if I look at it, if I decide to be negative, I'm adding one more negative person to that mix.
Right.
That's not going to work. And I agree that what's going on is anywhere from just not so good to absolutely horrible. It's there. But that doesn't mean that I have to put myself into it and say, just because they are, now I'm angry and I'm going to go get them. Then I'm part of the problem. I don't want to be that. I want to at least be someone who's willing to be part of the solution.
I agree. So we are down to minutes, and I want Faust to tell you guys how you can reach him, and if you're doing in service, because I know folks are getting their vaccines and they're allowing some businesses to open up, but I don't know if you're doing in person visits or everything is online. But tell everybody how they can reach you, and then where to get your book from.
Absolutely. The best way to reach me is my website. It's my name, FaustRuggiero.com. It's FaustRuggiero.com. That my website is dedicated to the book. Everything you want to know about the book and how we do the program, you can find right there. I mean, I'm still counseling, and I'm counseling in person, so I'm still having a lot of fun doing that. But I do talk to a lot of people online, because people will get to the website, they'll find the contact link, and they'll want to talk, and that's fine. I get back to people. And as far as the book is concerned, again, you'll see what you need on the website, and if you like it, it's Amazon, Barnes and Noble, all the usual retailers.
Well, guys, our time went by so fast, and we had a wonderful time with Faust Ruggiero, and he's the author of Fix Yourself Handbook. And he already told you guys where to go. Just go pick it up, make an appointment, but take advantage of this information. I want to remind you guys that we broadcast every Wednesday at 7 p.m. on Eastern Standard Time on WYTV7.org platform. We have had a wonderful time. I'm Sandy White, your host of Simply Fit, your #1 health and wellness cheerleader. Until next week, we'll see you later. And thanks for coming on the show, Faust.
It was a pleasure, Sandy. Thanks so much for inviting me.